I'd like to call to order the Doylestown Borough Council meeting for Monday, November 17th. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't believe we have any special presentations tonight. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our October 20th council meeting. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second. Second by Mr. Kinney. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Mayor, do you have a report for us tonight?
Yes, I do. I have a report. It will be quick. Last Friday, Councilman Lavone and I attended the DART quarterly meeting. The Doylestown DART bus weathered the storm of the stalled budgets in Harrisburg and SEPTA funding so far. When SEPTA covered operating deficits from funds with capital reserves, they also decided to continue funding the Doylestown DART. That is not true for DART West or DART South. Their funding will run out in June of 2026. DART board members have been asked to speak to our state representatives. Doylestown DART has the highest readership of all three. Year-to-date through July, the ridership was 10,750 passengers. The courthouse shuttle is a rounded 30,000. And just a note, there is no new funding for public transit in the state budget that was approved last week. And finally, we had an election on November 4th. You will see the same faces here tonight all of next year. The swearing-in ceremony is January 5th at 7 p.m. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Safety, Mr. Brown, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a couple of items of business tonight. The first one is the consideration of ordinance number 2025-10, establishing a 10-ton weight limit for trucks on North Clinton Street. Attached, please find ordinance number 2025-10, which establishes a 10-ton maximum gross weight for motor vehicles on North Clinton Street. Council authorized the advertisement of this ordinance at their meeting on October 20th, 2025, and the ordinance has since been properly advertised. The Public Safety Committee recommends that council adopt ordinance number 2025-10. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Amy. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is consideration of ordinance number 2025-11, modifying parking restriction on North Franklin Street between State and Wood Street. Attached, please find ordinance number 2025-11, which alters the existing parking restriction on the southeast side of North Franklin Street between State and Wood Streets from a maximum of 2-hour parking to no parking for non-permit holders. The Public Safety Committee recommends that council adopt ordinance number 2025-11. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. O'Hanlon. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
Just a clarification, it's my understanding that this ordinance affects effectively 2 parking spaces, is that correct? Or three parking spaces. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the fire company report is attached, and that is all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Public Works Administration, Mr. Kinney, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works Committee did not meet in October. However, the Public Works report is included in your packet.
That it?
I'm sorry, that concludes my report, yes. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thanks. Community and Government Affairs, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have several items for council consideration. The first is the Youth Leadership Recognition Program. The Community and Governmental Affairs Committee has reviewed the nominations for the 2025 Doylestown Borough Youth Recognition Program at its November meeting. After discussion, the committee is recommending that the recognition be awarded to Fiona Simic. If council wishes to follow the recommendations of the committee, it can do so by motion. The recipient will receive the award at the December council meeting, and I will make that motion.
Second.
We had a second, a couple of people there. I did. Liz, was that you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none. I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is the 2026 Borough Block Party Schedule. The Community and Governmental Affairs Committee reviewed the attached 2026 Borough Block Party Schedule at its November meeting and is recommending approval. If council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committee, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Kinney, I think it was.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from any members of council?
Yeah, this sounds kind of administrative and pro forma, but when spring and summer comes around, we are in for a real treat.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2025-13, recognizing the Bucks County Historical Society as a civic and service organization. Attached, please find the above referenced resolution recognizing the Bucks County Historical Society, BCHS, as a civic and service organization for the purpose of the Pennsylvania Small Games and Chance Act. Council's recognition is required by the act in order to permit BCHS to conduct fundraising raffles and other fundraisers. The Community and Government Affairs Committee has reviewed the resolution and is recommending adoption by Borough Council. If council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committee, it may do so by motion, and, wait for it, I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Lerone. Any other questions or comments from any members of council?
I'd like to just say that President Kyle McCoy is here from Bucks County Historical Society if she wanted to say anything about this.
Well, thanks, Amy. I didn't realize you were going to call on me today. Thank you. Yeah, this is, we have done raffles in the past, but the laws have changed. And so we wanted to put this forward so we could continue to do that. And so I thank everybody for even considering this, because it's a really big help for both the Mercer Museum and Fonthill Castle. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any other questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution Number 2025-14, announcing the borough's policy regarding the enforcement of federal immigration law. Attached, please find the above referenced resolution announcing the borough's policy regarding the enforcement of federal immigration law. The Community and Government Affairs Committee has reviewed the resolution and is recommending adoption by Borough Council. If council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committee, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Kinney. Any questions or comments from any members of the council?
I have a brief statement here.
Okay.
And I wrote it down, so I'll be concise as I can, because usually I ramble. But I'd like to thank everybody, members of the staff that helped with this resolution, and the mayor and our police commissioners that are on council for their work refining the language of this resolution. John was a huge help in particular in navigating how to approach this issue that is very sensitive in this time. I also want to thank members of the public that came to our committee meeting last week, and they voiced their concerns. With regards to the actual resolution, I think it's more important now than ever that we take a stand. Just because our federal immigration system, along with much of our federal government, is not functioning as it should, does not mean that members of our community should bear the brunt of that failure. This resolution makes clear that the policies of Doylestown Borough and the Central Bucks Regional Police under the leadership of Chief Knott do not and will not include voluntary collaboration plans. I want to personally commend the chief for his leadership. It is not the job of our local officers to perform the duties of federal immigration enforcement. Our officers are here to protect our community, and they do a damn good job of it. I'll end with this. Despite what some may have you believe, immigrants are what make America great. Doylestown is a place of inclusion, of equity, and of community, and supporting this resolution affirms that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none, I think we had a few people that signed up to speak.
Yes, Mr. President, we have 4 people signed up to speak to this. We have Heidi Rue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heidi Rue, and I'm the previous Executive Director of Immigrant Rights Action that was based here in the borough. I want to speak on behalf of many of my clients who are not here today, who live, work, pay taxes, and and are part of this community. I look forward to taking back some good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tabitha Delangelo from Harvey Avenue.
So thank you. And I'm an academic. I talk too much too. And I'm going to echo some of what Connor said, but I still think it's important. I agree. We are fortunate to have an excellent regional police department here. And they are trained professionals that have core duties that include enforcing state and local law, responding to emergencies, ensuring public safety, and building vital relationships through community outreach. The mission is clear. It's to serve all residents of our community. And this resolution makes it clear where they stand and the good work that they're already doing. What our police should not and do not do is act as federal immigration agents. Seeking out community members solely based on their immigration status is outside the scope of their mandate. And when local law enforcement is inappropriately pulled into those federal immigration enforcement that is sometimes deceptive and aggressive, it works against our local safety. It compromises that safety because what we've seen in places around the country is law enforcement being redirected away from their core functions. And when they're redirected away from their core functions to enact this federal work that's not their job, it makes our community less safe. So we must allow our local officers to do the essential work that they already do so well. And it also inflicts trauma and financial harm. And I know that we are not doing that. But seeing what's happening around the country, I think, makes it more important than ever that we are explicit about where we stand here. This resolution serves as a clear and necessary statement to every single resident of our jurisdiction that you will not be targeted based on your skin color, language, or immigration status. It ensures that our police department remains focused on its primary and critical role, building trust, solving local crimes, and enhancing public safety. So I urge this council to vote yes on this resolution and send an unambiguous message to our community that public safety and trust comes first. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Steve Sullivan from Harvey Avenue.
Thank you, everybody. So with this resolution, I think it's a really important statement of support for our community members. This is not just about undocumented immigrants. We know someone who told us recently that her brother was detained for 3 days because ICE thought he was someone else, and it was on him to prove from a detention center while he couldn't go to work that he was not that person they thought that he was. We see all over the place the tactics that are being used. We are dealing with bullies of the severest magnitude. And in our community, we have people who are living here, people who are working here, who are being bullied by this particular organization. And I think that there is a statement that can be made. We are so privileged to have this council of people who are like-minded with many of us in this room. We have a 9-0 majority plus the mayor who all run unopposed. If we don't speak up against the bullies, who can? This is a privilege, and the great responsibility is speaking out. So I hope you do that. Thank you.
And finally, we have Larissa Hopwood from State Street.
Hi. So I think it's really important right now to make sure that this passes. This is a line in the sand, and it's very important for us right now to make sure that those lines are drawn, and not only that they're drawn, but that we hold the lines. I think, as everybody said today, that this is a very scary time for people who are being attacked. I know personally, I have a child who is being attacked all the time. I'm not an immigrant, but I also am from lines of immigrants on both sides. And this is a moment in time where we really need to make sure that we protect the people who are most vulnerable in our community. We have the privilege right now to be able to make sure that that line is held. I said this last week, but I would like to repeat it, that if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. So we want to make sure that we are choosing the side of people who are protecting the most vulnerable people in our community. We have people in our community who are being detained. We have people who are in our community who are being threatened, and we want to make sure that we are moving to continue to protect them instead of allowing people to target them. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's everybody who signed up, so having heard all of that, I'd like to call for the vote.
I have one additional comment, if I may, Mr. President. So this is piggybacking on Mr. Sullivan's observation that the resolution unambiguously expresses support for our residents. I want to point out that equally unambiguous is the support for the police department that this resolution also encapsulates. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You ever get that urge to high five and no one is there to respond? Finally is consideration of resolution number 2025-15 in support of Senate Bill 1071. Attached, please find the above referenced resolution in support of Pennsylvania State Senate Bill 1071. Bill 1071 requires, with delineated exceptions, that law enforcement officers and agents wear clearly visible identification, including a badge, and prohibits such officers and agents from facial concealment. The Community and Governmental Affairs Committee has reviewed the resolution and is recommending adoption by Borough Council. If Council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committee, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. O'Hanlon. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
Just briefly, Mr. President, I think, first of all, I support this legislation. I think that it goes supplemental to the resolution that we just passed regarding immigration control and enforcement and this borough's position on cooperation by our local law enforcement. But I think it's important for the community at large, not just related to ICE enforcement, but to enforcement of our laws and generally by our law enforcement personnel, that there be transparency and visibility in that law enforcement, and it certainly wouldn't happen in this community, but law enforcement can't hide behind a mask and intimidate people who may be subject to enforcement activities, except in very, very limited circumstances. I think it says that we are, and I, for speaking for myself, an open society and a law-abiding society shouldn't be a society that has to worry about who's behind a mask. And this legislation, I think, would do that, would go a long way towards doing that, and I support it, and I support the resolution.
Any other comments or questions from members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Let's see. So years ago, you might have seen council put signs up around town saying, "Mask up, Doylestown." This isn't that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Zoning and planning, Ms. Jarrett, you have anything tonight?
Yes, of course. We did meet this month, as always. And first, we have the zoning hearing board report. I'll toss that over to Ms. Hyland to give us some clarity if needed.
Thank you, Ms. Jarrett. The zoning hearing board will be meeting this Thursday. You're an application for 112 Mary Street. The property owner is proposing an addition on the rear of the house. It's approximately 300 square foot in footprint, double that in floor area. They're requesting dimensional relief to enable that addition. The other application that's listed on the report here was withdrawn as of this afternoon, so they'll only be hearing that first application that's in your packet.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the HARB recommendations. The HARB had its regular monthly meeting. It is the Historic Architectural Review Board, for anybody new. They made the following recommendations for building applications only. 24 North Main Street is an addition and renovation. The HARB recommended approval of the dormer reconfiguration as submitted. The applicant is to return to HARB for a review of professional roof material evaluation. Next was 124 East Oakland Avenue for windows and doors. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented, with the condition that the applicant keep the current transom above the new door. For 204, West Court Street, an exterior stair replacement. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented, with the condition that the stringer will be covered with white or beige trim and that the handrail will comply with the building code. 164 East State Street renovation. The HARB recommended that the application for certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented, with the condition that the northern garage door material be changed and that the applicant return to a later meeting with the new garage door materials. 46 East State Street, Unit N for windows. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented with the following conditions. The application will use all aluminum-clad windows. The applicant will remain the original configuration of the lights of the existing windows on the front porch. The side windows will match the existing window configuration. However, squaring off the windows is acceptable. The Zoning and Planning Committee recommends that the council approve applications in accordance with HARB's recommendation, and if the council is in agreement, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Amy. Thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
I have one question, Mr. President. The applicant for 164 East State withdrew their zoning hearing board application. Does that have any effect on their co-occurring HARB?
It does, yes. I assume that this will ultimately be withdrawn, but they just simply won't apply for the building permits that go along with this.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The code enforcement and building inspection reports are both in the packet, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jarrett. Environment and Rec, Ms. Wyckoff.
Hi, we did just one item tonight. Attached, please find Resolution 2025-12, authorizing application to the Pico Green Region Open Space Program for Veterans Memorial and Chapman Park Habitat Enhancement Projects. The project involves 3 action items to be carried out at each park. 1, the inventorying and removal of invasive species. 2, the planting of native pollinator meadows. And 3, the installation of bird and/or bat boxes. Resolution 2025-12 acknowledges the Borough of Doylestown's application to the Pico Green Region Open Space Program, including its request for $10,000 from the grant program, its commitment to, at minimum, match the $10,000 request, and its understanding of program guidelines. The Environment and Recreation Committee is recommending adoption of Resolution 2025-12. If council wishes to follow the committee's recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second. We have a motion and a second by Mr. Lavrone. Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my report.
Just want to recognize Grant Rowe, put this application together and this grant application. Did a nice job on it.
I'll second that.
Thank you, John. That it?
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Water utility, Mr. Lavrone, you have anything tonight?
Well, the Water Committee did not meet this month, so I don't have any action items. 2 other quick items. The monthly operations report was sent to all Borough Council on November 10th, and there's nothing in there that looked out of the ordinary to me. And then finally, I wanted to thank and recognize our Water Department Director, Jerry Matozo, and his staff, and also the Public Works staff that did 2 very quick and almost emergency level repairs to our water system this month. One was a water main break on North Clinton, and the other was a valve that broke on Union Street. It was an important part of that part of the system. So thanks to both Water and Public Works crews for taking care of that. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Lavrone. Finance and Pension, Ms. Popkin, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you, Mr. President. So, just like last month, we have a lot of agenda items for Finance and Pension. And first, I'd like to thank John Davis and Caroline Brinker, who have been preparing these budgets for 3 decades now, and endless amounts of work for us as council to review what they've done and approve these. So the first item that we have is the agreement between the Borough of Doylestown and the Doylestown Borough Employees Association, the ASME Local 1598. Please see the attached proposal agreement between the Borough and Doylestown Borough Employees Association, ASME Local 1598. The negotiating team and the Finance and Pension Committee are recommending the approval of the agreement. If council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committees, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, I think, by Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is the authorization to advertise ordinance amending the non-uniformed pension plan. Attached, please find the above referenced draft ordinance amending the non-uniform pension plan in conjunction with the finalization of the ASME collective bargaining agreement This amendment will increase the multiplier from 1.25% to 1.3%, 1.3. If council wishes to authorize the advertisement of this ordinance, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Brown? Any questions or comments from any members of council? Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is the adoption of the 2026 Central Bucks Regional Police Department budget. And in your budget book that all of you have, please find the revised 2026 Central Bucks Regional Police Department budget as approved and submitted for consideration of the Central Bucks Regional Police Commission. During the Joint Council Finance Budget Work Session held on November 13th, 2025, it was recommended that the council approve this 2026 Central Bucks Regional Police Department budget as submitted. If council agrees with this recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. O'Hanlon. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. There you go, Chief. Okay, the next item is the adoption of our 2026 preliminary budget. As part of the council packet, you have been provided with a copy of the proposed 2026 preliminary budget. This preliminary budget is to be advertised and will be available for public inspection at Borough Hall, also on our website, www.doylestownborough.net, and Doylestown Borough social media for a minimum of 10 days prior to the final budget adoption. Any changes that you wish to make can be made between now and the final budget adoption, which is scheduled for December 15th, 2025, and that's our next council meeting. A budget message, along with a copy of the budget summary, has been prepared for the public and the press. Once the preliminary budget is adopted and all changes are finalized, the 2026 budget books with all the schedules will be prepared and presented to council for our next December. Budget is adopted.
Sorry.
For the December meeting. If council wishes to adopt and authorize the advertisement of the proposed 2026 preliminary budget, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by, is it Jen? Okay. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
I just want to make a quick comment. I'm going to echo what Ms. Popkins said about the very hard work that Ms. Brinker and Mr. Davis did in putting this budget together. But I also want to commend the members of this council for their seriousness of purpose in looking at this budget and looking at what's been proposed here, recommending changes that we thought were appropriate to make. It's a team effort. Certainly the yeoman's job is done by staff here, but this council took this task very seriously. And, we did make some recommendations from what was presented to us when we met last week, which eventually all the members of the Finance Committee, as well as I hope members of this council who are not on the Finance Committee, can agree to. But it was a very, very productive session. We had very candid discussions, which your elected representatives ought to have, and so really happy to and privileged to be a part of that process. And I just want to commend my colleagues for their hard work.
Any additional comments or questions from council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from the members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is the authorization to advertise ordinance setting the 2026 real estate tax rate. In conjunction with the adoption of the 2026 preliminary budget, attached, please find a copy of the above referenced ordinance. For the year 2026, the general purpose tax is 14.415 mils. The fire protection tax is 1.7 mils. The special road fund tax is 1.5 mils. The ambulance and rescue squad tax is 0.5 mils. And our debt service tax is 3.725 mils. This would be a total millage of 21.84 mils. If council wishes to authorize this advertisement for the proposed ordinance, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
Yeah, second by Mr. Kinney, I believe.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from members of council? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We're getting there. The authorization to advertise ordinance, this would be providing for the regulation of water service. In conjunction with the adoption for the 2026 preliminary budget, attached, please find a copy of the above-mentioned ordinance. Setting the rates for the water meter service and standby fire protection service rates for 2026. If council wishes to authorize the advertisement of this ordinance, proposed ordinance, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
And we had a second by Mr. Lavrone. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is the authorization to advertise ordinance raising the expired parking meter fine to $25. Attached, please find the above reference ordinance raising the borough's expired parking meter fine from $20 to $25. The Finance and Pension Committee is recommending that council authorize the advertisement for this ordinance. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown, I believe. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next in your report is the finance report with the bills list, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Brinker.
Thank you, Ms. Popkin. That was quite a list of items you had this month, so thank you. Everyone was provided the finance report for the month. It showed payables for the last month, payroll for October. The total for all funds was $923,582.57.
And I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Jarrett. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and that's the end of our report.
Thank you, Ms. Popkin. It was quite a long-winded activity there. Personnel Committee, we have a couple of items to discuss tonight. First is the reappointment of members to various boards and commissions. The following board members' terms expire on December 31st, 2025, and each has expressed a desire to return for another term. On the Emergency Preparedness and Communication Board, Pamela Lalande and Beth Lander are being reappointed for a term ending on 12/31/2028. On the EAC Environmental Advisory Council, David Rydell is appointed for a term ending again 12/31/2028. Fanny Chapman Pool Board, Rebecca Masters and David Reese are both being appointed to a term ending 12/31/2028. On the Historical and Architectural Review Board, for terms ending on 12/31/2029, we have Denise Blaisdell, Ralph Curtis Fay, and Marie Kovac. Human Relations Commission, again, ending on 12/31/2028. We have Maxine Katz and Doreen Stratton. On the Planning Commission, on a term ending 12/31/2029, we have Mary Ann Baminger. On a vacancy board, Curtis Cowgill for a term ending 12/31/2026. And Zoning Hearing Board, we have Bill Cope, Scott Strasburg, and Brian Vaughn for terms each ending on 12/31/2028. Personnel Committee is recommending that council reappoint the board members as indicated. If council is in agreement with the committee's recommendation, may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
And Mr. President, I just wanted to note that for the Emergency Preparedness and Communication Board, just as a reminder, since we seated 7 members this year, we decided to phase out their terms so that everybody didn't come up all at once the first time.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, I have an authorization to advertise board vacancies. As of December 31st, 2025, there will be the following vacancies on various borough volunteer boards. Environmental Advisory Council, there's 1 vacancy for a 3-year term. Fanny Chapman Pool Board, there's 2 vacancies for 3-year terms. And Historical Architectural Review Board, there's 1 vacancy for a 4-year term. On the Planning Commission, there's 1 vacancy for a 4-year term. In addition, there will be the following student member board vacancies for a term of May 2026 through April 2027. Fanny Chapman Pool Board, Historic and Architectural Review Board, Human Relations Commission, Park and Recreation Board, 2 of them on that, and the Shade Tree Commission, and a junior council person from September 2026 through May 2027. Personnel Committee is recommending advertisement of vacancies. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Kinney. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
Just ask Thomas not to take it personally that we're already advertising for his replacement.
Plenty of time to train this week. Just got here. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Professionals report. Mr. Doherty, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you. I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay, solicitors report.
No report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Central Bucks Regional Police report. Chief?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. On the President's report, I have a very brief thing. I just want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and don't forget Santa Claus comes to town a week from Friday, so thank you very much. Any items of new business? Hearing none. Any items of old business? And then any items of new business? Open public comment?
We have no one signed up.
Nobody signed up.
So there is someone
You want to come up and identify yourself, please?
sign up after.
Hi, I'm Dana Roberts. I'm a borough resident and I'm an early intervention speech therapist in the community. So I go into homes for kids who are birth to 3, and I see a lot of clients who are Spanish speakers. I just was curious if the resolution that was passed, which thank you for that, if you guys print that in various languages. I'm just wondering as like disseminating that to people in the community.
We do not.
We do not, but that's something we could certainly consider.
Okay. Yeah, just, making sure that it gets to the families, because I know sometimes the people who it needs to get to aren't often aware of motions passing and things like that. So that would just be a request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask you a question? What languages, Spanish I assume is one, what languages would you recommend?
I can't speak to all of the languages, but I feel like Urdu probably would be important. Maybe Portuguese. I feel like CB might be able to, like Doyle, Linden, Kutz. Ukrainian might also be good, but that might be a good place to find out what the big languages are.
I think that's a good idea to reach out to the local schools, because I know my daughter, an assistant principal in North Penn High School, they have 80 different languages spoken in that school, which is shocking when I heard that, so, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do not have an executive session tonight, correct?
That is correct.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, all.